prayer and every tear I've sown. The Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping joy 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. I thought it was over, thought you were done with me, but we're just beginning. Whoa, my life is a journey. I will walk with you, I will go where you want me to. Yes, I will go.
The land is green for me. Is it green for you? That was Greenland by T.Y. Bello.
The Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green, it's green.
And because we are sure that the land is green for us, that's why we are live on the radio at Allure Radio.
But we're just beginning. Whoa, my life is a journey. I will walk.
Is the land green for you? Because it is green for me. It is green for us at the studio here.
Yes, I will go.
I'm sure it's definitely green for you, because if it is not, you won't be live with us on the radio. This is Allure Radio from the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism.
Hey, yeah. It's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The land is green, it's green.
This is the Parliament Roundtable. My name is Temiloluwa Oyeniyi, and we are live at Allure Radio. Of course, if you are watching us, this is the Parliament Roundtable, and we are here to discuss about the issues surrounding the Parliament. We give you updates about the Oyo State youths, and of course, we bring you updates on how the Parliament is progressing in its activities. And today we'll be talking about a very important topic, and I'm sure that you are going to enjoy it, because it's going to be very insightful, educating and informative.
Here we stand as a people with one song, with one voice. We're a nation undivided and voice. We will take a stand and build our land in faith. people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and
This program is brought to you by the Oyo State Youth Parliament, and in the studio I have with me my colleagues who are also members of the Oyo State Youth Parliament. Last week we mentioned that we'll be engaging you on some of the issues surrounding the parliament, and we unveiled last week the members of the Oyo State Youth Parliament. And the aim of this program, just like I stated last week, that the aim of the program is to bring to you updates, to bring to you information about the parliament, and to discuss some topics, that is very imperative for the Oyo State youth to know. This is the Parliament Roundtable, and today we'll be looking at a particular topic, a very interesting topic that we actually felt the need to engage the youth on some of the misconceptions, and of course to clarify some of these misconceptions about the legislature. And today we'll be talking about the role of the legislature in today's society. And I have a very special guest in the studio this afternoon who will be shedding more light on the roles of the legislature, and we will be talking about some of the misconceptions that people have about the legislature. And don't forget that the legislature is the arm of government, is the first arm of government rather. The legislature is the body in charge of making laws. Well, I am not here to give you the definitions or to educate you on what the roles of the legislature is. I just know that the legislature is in charge of making laws, formulating policies, and there are many misconceptions. Let me just say that there are many misconceptions about the legislature. Many people believe that legislators are meant to build roads, to construct buildings, to do a lot of projects per se, but that's more like a misconception. And majorly it's constitutional that the legislators are meant to formulate policies, and I am not here to do justice to that. I'm sure that a very important representative of the Oyo State Youth Parliament will do justice to that. But I have some ideas to give, and just while I was doing my own personal research, I found out that the legislative is an assembly rather, with the authority to make laws in a country or state, and members of the legislature are called the legislators. So with me in the studio I have a representative, a member of the Oyo State Youth Parliament, Honorable Fauzi Ghazali, who is representing Ibadan Southwest State Constituency 1. Honorable Fauzi, good afternoon. How are you doing today,
I'm fine,
sir?
I'm fine.
It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
So please tell the public your role in the parliament.
Well, my name is Fauzi Ghazali. I'm a member of the Oyo State Youth Parliament representing the good youths of the Ibadan Southwest Constituency 1. The parliament, as it has been said, it's also a name that you can use to be regarded to be a group of legislators. And when we talk about legislatures, they are the people that make law. We have three arms of government when we are talking about government, or the governance is going to take place. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, and we have the legislature. The executive are the arm of government expected to execute policies, execute laws that have been made by the legislators. The legislature are the one expected to make the laws, why the executive are the ones expected to execute those laws, and the judiciary are the ones expected to interpret and or adjudicate where there are issues concerning how the law is to be interpreted. So the concern today is legislature and what legislature is all about. So like I said, this is a arm of government vested with the mandate to make laws. If you check and go deeper as regard what legislature is all about, they are expected to do three things. Number one is to make law. Number two is to represent the people. And the number three is to perform an oversight function. Those are the three major things expected of the legislature. And their functions are well expatiated in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you catch a glimpse of the Constitution, you surely see what is expected of the legislature at the federal level and also at the state level.
Okay, thank you for that definition. I know that back in secondary school days, when we do government, they talk about the legislature, and I used to how do I say this, I crammed, when you want to cram something, you just cram the important part of the definition. I know that the legislative arm is to formulate policies, the executive arm executes or implements those policies, and the judiciary is more like, ensures that there's the obedience and all other things like that. So while you were giving definition of the legislature, so let's be practical. Yes, let's be practical. There has been a lot of misconceptions, probably because people are not very familiar with the concept of the legislature. So we want to be practical. So people expect that their representatives at different constituencies ought to go to their constituency, construct roads, ensure there is electricity, and even most times, even we that at the grassroots, they walk up to us and say, we don't have light. What are you people saying? What are you people doing about it? So let's be more practical with the definition of the legislature so that everybody can understand. So in practical, what are the roles of the legislators?
Yeah, thank you very much. You said practical, and I should ask you the question: is it practical in our immediate environment, or practical in where we have the real legislative action taking place?
In our immediate environment. Let's start with that.
Thank you very much. So when we talk about legislature in our immediate environment, like you said, there have been misconception as regard what is expected of the legislature. The people that started the act of lawmaking, when we go deeply and try to check history as regard what legislature is all about, like I said, the three major roles expected of them is to make law, represent the people, and also to perform oversight functions. But in the Nigeria of today, where we belong to, we don't see legislature to be a body only vested with the mandate to make laws. We are even expecting them to perform functions of the executive. When we say functions of the executive, it does not necessarily mean oversight, because when we say oversight in that sense, is like the executive as an arm of government are engaging in some things. The legislature can perform an oversight function by serving as a watchdog to see how those activities is being performed, and it is the responsibility of the executive. But we now say the legislature of the way the actual meaning that our people are given to it, the misconception attached to it. The legislature have been expected to perform some projects that are responsibilities of the executive arm of government, which is not supposed to be so. I tell people that if you want to really see if a legislature is performing, you have to check how he or she present bills in the plenary, contribution to bills, and how he moved motions. That's how to know whether a legislature is really performing or not. Not how many boreholes the legislator has erected in his community, not empowerment programs they have done. Also, they are functions of the executive. But we have given it a misconception that we also expect our legislature to facilitate road construction, performing all sorts of functions expected of the judiciary. So that's the meaning we have given to it in our own immediate environment. And to be candid and to be factual, that is not the way to know if a legislature is really performing. And that really guides them from even performing the function expected of them. Because the people only want to see you providing something to your immediate environment. They don't want to see whether you really present a bill in the House of Representatives in the National Assembly. They don't want to see whether you contribute to bills. And if you check these legislators also, if you go and check their antecedents, what they have been doing, they might not have been contributing to bills. but they come to their society, provide boreholes, do empowerment. Then people attach importance to them. Okay, this person is well meaningful to be our legislature, and it's not. To be candid, and it's not. It's not like that. It's not supposed to be that way. We should move forward and really attach the real meaning of legislature to our practical politics. And what's the real meaning of legislature? The person that makes laws, that represent the people and performs the oversight function, not to engage in the responsibilities expected of the executive arm of government.
Okay, so I noted some things while you were given the practical definition. So let's look at the power of the legislature.
Okay.
You know, what exactly is the power of the legislature? I read, back in school days, we did the power of the legislature in law, and so they were talking about the legislature has the power to even impeach the executive. So let's take a look at the power of the legislature. How does it work? What exactly is the power that the legislature has? I know that there is the place of separation of power,
Sure.
and I know that there is the place of checks and balances. So what exactly is the power that is being upholded on the legislative?
Yeah, thank you very much. Number one thing expected of the legislature is making of law. That is number one thing. Then going forward, when we talk about the other responsibilities of the legislature, like you said, they can go on and impeach the number one head of the executive arm of government, because they represent the people and they have to represent the interest of the people. So the laws they make are supposed to be laws that protect the interest of the people. That's number two. They also perform oversight function. And what's the meaning of this oversight function? There are some responsibilities performed by the executive arm of government in a situation whereby we have a ministry under the executive. After they are presented, if we are very conversant with the scenario that are called in Nigeria of today, we would have come across a situation whereby the legislature, the National Assembly, invites people of a particular ministry to come and defend their budgets that is presented to them by the executive arm of government. That's a form of oversight. We want to see how much you want to do with what you have presented to us as the budget. How are you going to make use of it? The executive arm of government already believe in the ministry by accepting the budget and forwarding it to the legislature. But the legislature have to go more by going oversight, in the sense that they have to check, okay, you have already presented this budget, that this is going to be your running cost for the period of 1 year. How are you going to utilize this fund? How are we going to be sure that, okay, this fund is given to you, we are going to use it as expected? So that's oversight. Then another responsibility of the legislature, like you said, to be practical in the Nigeria of today, they are also expected to perform some executive roles. Executive roles in the sense that we have what we call constituency projects. It has not been well established in our constitution, but to be practical, it is there already, because they have funds attached, they have funds separated for the lawmakers, for them to go on to their constituencies and engage in what we call constituency projects. Funds are even released to them to go and engage in these executive activities, executive functions. But to be practical, in the real sense, it is a function of the executive, but we have accepted it the way it is, and Nigeria of today, the way we practice our own legislation, lawmakers are also expected to engage in some executive roles to their immediate constituencies. So when they belong to their immediate, they engage in construction of empowerment. Is the real sense, in the real sense, is what they do. The people in their immediate community, what they need to survive as human, providing shelter to their table by themselves. How can the legislature come in? Apart from the executive arm of government doing such, we have also given such a function to the lawmaker to also engage in. Going forward, we also said the lawmaker can also impeach the executive head. Maybe when we are talking about national level, they can impeach the president. When we are talking about state level, they can impeach the governor. That is true. That's also a form of oversight function, because when the president is not performing, or if he or she, if the president go against what is expected of him, maybe there's a law. There are so many laws that is expected of a president, but in a situation whereby you are not upholding the law, the executive and the legislative arm of government can come in and say, we want to impeach you. That was also a form of under oversight function, because they have to see that the executive arm of government are also performing as expected. They are also representing the interests of the people. In a situation whereby they are not representing the interests of the people, the legislature can call them to order, and that's where another part of the oversight that we are talking about. Moving forward, as regard the function of legislature, also we can also say legislature as an arm of government can also serve as intermediary between the executive arm of government and also the people. Because to be candid, the closest public officer is the lawmaker. The closest public officer to the people is the lawmaker. They are the closest. The governor is not close to the people, but an House of Representative member in the Oyo State House of Assembly is more close to the people than the governor. So the lawmaker can serve as a link between the people of the grassroots and the governor. And also a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can also serve as a link between the people of the grassroots and the president. In a situation whereby there are issues affecting the people at the immediate community of the lawmaker, which need federal attention, it is the responsibility of the lawmaker to carry this, to make it known to the executive head, be it the governor or the president. So these are functions expected of the legislator, because there is a difference between legislature and legislative activity. When we say legislator, the legislator is a person, is a member of the legislature who engage in legislative activities.
Okay, so you are gradually taking me to where I don't know. But then thank you for expatiating on the concept of the legislature and the roles of the legislators. So we'll go on this short break, and when we come back we'll talk more about the roles of the legislature. Stay with us.
níbi tájà náà kú fẹ́ tẹ̀tẹ̀lẹ̀ o níbẹ̀ lọ́mọ ẹranko gbé ń jẹun. àìlà ẹ̀jẹ̀ náà máa bá bá jìbọ̀ aráyé wa ò rán bí kìíní ọ̀hún ṣe ń gúnrégé. àwùrọ̀ kejì ló tún dé lágbọ́lẹ̀ ọdún. àwọn méjèèjì máa ń sọ báyìí láti ìkọ́bí nílé orin o. àìlá ọkọ̀ kú sátú. onílùwàlà ẹ̀ ò gbárùn dáadáa wọlé ń wí. ẹ̀kọ́ lójú títì o ní mọ́tò ń bọ̀. ó ti gbẹ́dẹ̀ sí dànù ọ̀la ó adéwọlé dé. ayé ẹ bá mi gbàgbé ọwọ́. wájú àyíká pẹ̀lú adéwọlé alùjọ kọ́. ohun mi ẹ farabalẹ̀. àgbà tí ò farabalẹ̀ afárágbẹ́gbá anigilájẹ́ ò ṣe bínú jì. àtirátẹ̀kù ẹ̀jẹ̀ gáàmì adéhàmì nǹkan ti dẹ́kù. nínú àsìkò yìí gbogbo wa ni ó sórí rẹ̀. nínú àsìkò yìí gbogbo wa ni ó sórí rẹ̀. ewé láti mọ̀ wí níjọ́ yẹn. ewé láti mọ̀ wí níjọ́ yẹn. àrò wá sí tòótọ́ mọ́ ìgbín oníkọ́lé tó máa kún tán. àyìnlá padà dọ́mọ tuntun o adéwọlé padà dọ́mọ tuntun o àyìnlá padà dọ́mọ rẹ adéwọlé padà dọ́mọ rẹ. ẹ bá ń gbé mi jẹjẹ kẹ gbé mi jó láyé tá bá ń gbé wa kẹkẹ kẹ pọ́n mi lé láyé tá a bá rọ́mọ tuntun wọn dàrí yọ àtìgbà tá a bá rọ́mọ tuntun wọn dàrí yọ o. àyìnlá padà dọ́mọ tuntun. àyìnlá padà dọ́mọ tuntun o. adéwọlé padà dọ́mọ tuntun. àyìnlá padà dọ́mọ tuntun o. adéwọlé padà dọ́mọ tuntun. ìjọba bàbá ń gbé mi kẹ̀kẹ́ kẹ́ gbé mi lé láyé. bàbá ń gbé mi kẹ̀kẹ́ kẹ́ gbé wọn kọ́ lọ. tá a bá rọ́mọ tuntun adarí yọ. àyìnlá tá a bá rọ́mọ tuntun adarí yọ.
It's still the Parliament Roundtable live at Alore Radio in the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. And we are still in the studio with Honorable Fauzi Ghazali. He is a representative of the Oyo State Youth Parliament. Thanks once again for shedding more light on the concept of legislature. So moving forward to the roles of the legislature in today's society. So we are going to be using the Oyo State Youth Parliament as a case study. The Oyo State Youth Parliament is is a body as well, and we can say it's also a legislative body. So I would first ask about your roles in the parliament. What committee are you chairing in the parliament?
Okay. I'm a member. Let me registration again. I'm a member of the Oyo State Youth Parliament, and I'm the chairman House Committee on International Relations. I talking about the rules of the parliament. Can I go forward and talk about the
Oh
rules of
yes,
the parliament?
let me come in like this.
Okay.
So you are the chairman House Committee on
International Relations.
international relations. Has there been any particular projects or program that you've initiated in your committee?
Thank you very much. Well, currently, we are still working on having programs in place, getting the program done. Myself and the secretary of the committee and some other members of the committee, we are planning to have the diasporans, the chairperson of the Oyo State diasporans, in person of Mrs. I've forgotten the name. We call her Saba, or what do we call her name? So we look forward to meet her very soon and talk to her on how we can do a form of sensitization to the people who are looking forward to leave Nigeria and go outside the country, because a lot of people don't have access to information when it comes to leaving Nigeria. They just want to fly, they just want to leave, and there are more to which you have to know: where you are going, how you have to, the paths you have to tread in leaving the country. Like I said, international relations as a committee, we are looking forward to meet her and discuss with her how we can have a sensitization program through the Oyo State Youth Parliament. We believe when we meet her, we are going to have a support from her, and we can put out the message that we look forward to put to the people through our platform as a committee, through Oyo State Youth Parliament. So there are also varieties of programs that we also plan and put in place already, but I would say we lack adequate support, but we are not down. Even though we lack the support, we are still looking forward to make sure we engage in what is expected of us as parliamentarians in the Oyo State Youth Parliament.
Okay, that's good to hear. So let's go back to the roles of the parliament. A lot of time people ask me particularly that, okay, what's the youth parliament about? What do you guys do? And sometimes I give them theoretical answers like, okay, this is the youth parliament is more like a sub-hub of the Oyo State House of Assembly, and we have senior colleagues. I just look for answers to give to them. So basically, as a member of the parliament, what are the roles of the Oyo State Youth Parliament? Do they also make laws? Do they make policies?
Thank you very much. Oyo State Youth Parliament. Don't let me start from talking about Oyo State. Let me talk about the Nigerian Youth Parliament, because we have it at the federal level. Nigerian Youth Parliament exists at the federal level that serve as a subunit under the National Assembly, because they run their activities just like the National Assembly, the House of Senate, House of Representatives is being run, and they have representatives throughout the constituencies, throughout the federation. So breaking it down to the Oyo State level, we also have Oyo State Youth Parliament. That's we have various members representing state constituencies. We have 32 state constituencies. I represent the Ibadan Southwest constituency 1. I believe you represent the Egbeda constituency, and we have other 30 members, making 32, who represent the youth. Let me put it that way: we represent the youth of our constituencies. It's so sad a lot of people don't really get to know what the youth parliament, let me put it that way, is all about. Like you said, it's a framework that has been set aside by the federal government to serve as a training ground for future legislators, and also apart from that, it's also a platform where policies affecting the youth can be formulated. Like I said, policies that affect youth can be formulated and presented to the maybe the House of Assembly in the states for them to look into and also make it a reality. Also, we also have policies we formulate on behalf of the youth, forwarding it to the executive arm of government, which they can also make use of through the Ministry of Youth and Sport. So all our policies affect the youth because they are the one we represent. So any ideas that is being forwarded by the Youth Parliament is affected by the youth. They represent the youth, and every of their activities also is for the betterment of the youth in the states. But we are not there to make laws. We don't make laws. What we do is formulate policies. And when we have a policy in place, we forward it to the necessary authority, the state level, maybe the legislature or the executive arm of government, where necessary action is taken. So those are the things that we do at the state level as the youth parliamentarian.
Okay, so to the youths out there and to every Oyo State every Oyo State citizen out there, you've heard from Honorable Fauzi Ghazali that the Oyo State Youth Parliament doesn't make laws. We just make policies, and from there we take it up to the desk of the House of Assembly and of course to the executive arm for proper actions to take place. So I would like to chip this in form of a question. You know, in the Nigerian legislative system, we ought to be using, even at the executive arm, we ought to be using a bottom-top approach. But it's there's no gainsaying that in the present Nigerian system we use the top-bottom approach. We are the ones who decide. What bettered this question actually was when we were talking about empowerment program. Of course, I've seen cases where, you know, legislators go to their various constituencies and just share items, you know, without asking the needs, the basic needs of the people. So I want you to shed more light on the importance of using the bottom-top approach. And you know, this I want your answer to be in two ways. First is on the part of the legislators, and the second part is on the part of the people. You know, it's very important for us, as much as we want to question our government, it's also important to also let our needs be known, so that our representatives will know about it, then they take proper action. So I want you to talk more on the bottom-top approach.
Thank you very much. The bottom-top that you just talked about, that really bettered what we have as levels of government. Because we have the federal system, we have the states, and we have the local governments. The federal government cannot cater for all issues affecting governance. So we have the state. The state as a body also cannot cater for all issues affecting the governance. So we have the local governments, which tells you that if we are going to record development as a body, it starts from the bottom to the top. That is very, very important. If you check through all nations of the world, when they start talking about, I'm glad you are a development expert. When we want to talk about development must start from the grassroots before it can metamorphose to what we call national or international style of development. So that tells you that bottom-top approach is very, very important when you want to engage in governance. If the government is about to formulate policies, as a government, you have to check the needs of the people at the grassroots before you go on and formulate the policy. Because it is the people at the grassroots that you can easily get to know what is needed. But if you just come up and say, okay, let me put this to my people, without going through the bottom to know what is needed of them, there's going to be a form of misplaced priority. Like, you are not going to give them what they deserve, but you are going to give them what you think they need. So there are two different things: what they need and what you think they need. What they need is what you get to know from the bottom, if you engage in what we call bottom top. But when you give them something you don't even know whether they need, you are engaging in what we call top bottom, as you have really put down your explanation. So that tells you how important local government is when we are talking about a governmental setting. The local government is the closest form of government to the people, and they really know what is needed of the people at the grassroots level, which is the reason why we have constituencies also at the state assembly. These people are the closest to the people, and they can easily legislate upon issues, deliberate upon issues, using the bottom top. Because when they start deliberating on issues from the bottom that is really of use to people at the grassroots, then they can bring it on to the executive arm of government, which is the top. I believe I am able to do justice to what you really want to say.
So let's go to the part of the people. Well, what would you how would you explain the bottom-top approach to the people, you know, that would trigger them to, you know, in a way to reach out to their government?
Well, it's let me put it this way. It's so sad that people don't know their rights as human. there have been I don't know the phrase to use. The government have really kept their rights away from them. But as a people, you can get to know your rights when you know these people you voted them into power, and you also have the right to know how they are representing you. You are not sending them to just sit down there and make laws and do all sorts of things. What they are doing there must affect you. It must affect your standard of living. It's very, very important. So as a people, I believe they can always come together when there's a single voice. There was a time in Nigeria when we are trying to, people who have a particular constituency in Nigeria are trying to impeach or recall their senator or a member of the House of Rep. So that was a form of bottom-top approach from the people. So when you come together and make sure, okay, how can we make sure the government are responsible to us? So it's all about coming together. One person can't get it done. One person can't vote for a particular individual and the person will be elected or will be matched. It's not possible. Governor Shea Makinde today, a whole lot of people elected him as governor of the state, not just one person. So it has to do with the coming together of people to deliberate on issues affecting them. When they deliberate on issues affecting them, they can know the appropriate quota to take it to. So I believe that's the bottom top from the perspective of the people.
All right, thank you very much for enlightening us on the roles of the legislature. Thank you very much. So you've heard from him, you've heard from a member of the Oyo State Youth Parliament, you've heard about the roles of the legislature, and you've heard about your rights as individuals, as citizens who are residents or are occupants of a particular constituency or a local government. You know, it is part of your right to question your government. As much as you want to question the government, then you also have to play your part by letting your needs be known to your representatives at different constituencies. So we would like to hear from you. We would like to hear your feedbacks, your questions, you know, your opinions. You can follow Alore Radio on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Alore Radio. Also, you can watch us live on Facebook. Yes, you can watch us live. You can watch us on YouTube at Alore Radio. Of course, you can also check the website www.aloreradio.com, and you know it's also available on the Play Store for mobile apps. You know, so we just heard from Honorable Fauzi Ghazali, representing Ibadan Southwest State Constituency 1 at the Oyo State Youth Parliament, and he mentioned something very important that you know, if you want a successful government, there is the need for us to engage the three arms of government, which is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. I love to arrange them orderly. Why? Because I feel like the legislature holds more than the others. How do I mean? Whatever policies that the legislature makes goes down to the executive for them to execute and implement, and then it goes down to the judiciary to ensure that those laws or those policies are properly maintained. So that's that about the roles of the legislature. So I will be bringing in some announcements shortly. But let's go on this short break and we'll be right back.
ṣé mo ní àgbààgbà tí ń gbára àdúgbò lọ́wọ́ ewu mo tún dé bí mo ṣe ń dé. àwọ̀ àdìdá fẹ́ máa ṣe mo kí ẹ o. bí kò bá ń gbọ́ àbá fún o bọ́jà tún gbọ́ àbá fún nítorí jòdù wọlá tún jí. Kí ló dé tó máa màlékú lọ́wọ́? Àrìnà ló dájú àlá o, ẹnikẹ́ni ò lè bá a. Ẹ ò rí kíkú ṣe wọlé ọ̀la. Àlíájì lásùn pamọ́ kí ẹ o. Bàbá ṣe sùúrù ìrẹ́ akárí. Ọlátúnjí ti gbẹ́gò jẹ́ lọ ikú bọ́lá. Ilé ayé lọ́jà ọ̀run nílé o. Bàbá o akọrin ti lọ dúpẹ́ olùgbàlà. Bàbá o akọrin ti lọ dúpẹ́ olùgbàlà. Ọmọ rere tó fi sílẹ̀. Ọmọ rere tó fi sílẹ̀. Ọlátúnjí yóò bàjẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ bàbá lọ sọ́run. Ó bàjẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ bàbá lọ sọ́run. Ọ̀gá onífàájì akọrin ti lọ òwe. Mo fúta ìwé màdé òyìnbó onírẹ́kọ́dù. Igi dára nígbà ẹ̀mọ́ pé kì í bá nígbà. Ìgbà nígbà. Onímọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀.
Okay, that we are still live on Alore Radio, and it is still the Parliament Roundtable. We just discussed about the role of the legislature in today's society. So I will be bringing in some updates from the Oyo State Youth Parliament. So the Oyo State Youth Parliament will be having its sitting on Monday, 26th September at the House of Chiefs at 9 a.m. on Monday, 26th September at the House of Chiefs at 9 a.m. Please, if you would like to witness the plenary of the Oyo State Youth Parliament, you are expected to be seated at the House of Chiefs at exactly 9 a.m. And so that's for the announcement. And of course, we'll be bringing you some of the updates next week. There are some projects that are on the line, and we'll be bringing you the updates of this project. And of course, we would also be bringing you updates about the National Youth Day. We are still trying to compile necessary information, see the necessary people that we need to see, and then we'll give you updates about it. And of course, for the Independence Day, I'm sure that the rights agency is working on how to commemorate the Independence Day, which comes up on October 1. Would also like to hear from you, your feedbacks. Don't forget, last week I mentioned that the reason for bringing this program live on the radio is to engage the youth and to also serve as an opportunity to get feedbacks from the youth at different constituencies. And so we would like to hear your feedback, would like to hear your opinion about our discussion today. If you have questions, you can send us you can send us message on at Oyo State Youth Parliament at different social media handles, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can share with us your thoughts, and if you have someone somewhere that has special skills that you would like to bring up on the radio, please do well to message us on our social media handles, and do well to pitch. Just tell us what this person does and why you want the person to be live on the radio. So thank you very much for staying with us on Alore Radio, and that comes to the end of the Parliament Roundtable. My name remains Oyeniyi Temlolua. See you next time.
People with one song, with one voice, we're a nation undivided and poised. We will take a stand and build our land.
We bring you everything from breaking news